All right, guys, welcome back. Now that we got that real quick discussion about the XSP in your future out of the way, let's go ahead and start getting our hands dirty once again. Now, it's been a long journey in this class. I mean, we have gone through a lot. We've taken a very close look at the fundamental concepts of the C# language. We've taken a very close look at the intricate workings of XNA in regards to what's happening under the hood. And we've given that pretty solid fundamental introduction to the XNA world and how to put together simple games, so on and so forth. Now, it's time to really push you guys to the next level. Time to take that next step in learning and putting you into the shoes of a real programmer. And what do I mean by that? Well, everything that we have done in this class so far has been monkey see, monkey do. Do you agree, Logan?
Most certainly. Everything has been followed step by step through the entire project. We start from the most simplest of details, the simple sprite batch. Every simple asset and line of code is followed end to end in all of the previous projects.
Exactly. Now, if you were to take a true, college course, is it going to be like that? No. In a real classroom environment, you're going to get key concepts, and then after you get that lecture, then you're going to get implementation plans or a set of requirements, and then you're going to be off to, code an assignment, and that's what we're about to do. And what this is going to do is it's really going to allow you to put to work everything you have seen over the past 90 plus hours of content in the XNA Xtreme class. So that's the plan. What we're going to do is deliver focused topics on very specific subjects that, you may not really know how to handle. I mean, some of you I'm sure do, but a lot of you that are completely new to the world of programming and, you still feel like everything we provide is a giant crutch and you type along with us, but you're still not a programmer yet. We're still going to provide, these focus topics, but you're going to have assignments and then you're going to have to figure out, using everything we've shown you, how to put it together. And this is going to start out with Memory Master. Now, we've got 4 different assignments that are going to be coming up. We're going to start out with Memory Master. After Memory Master, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is Battle Blocks. After Battle Blocks, we've got Laser Bikes. After Laser Bikes, we have Space Fighter. Okay, so these are the 4 games that we have remaining. So right now, our focus is going to be on Memory Master. As we progress forward, you're going to get a good bit of help in this guy right here. And then a little bit less help, a little bit less, and a little bit less. Though along the way, there are still very specific topics that we need to cover in lecture form. Things like, how do you do per pixel collision? That's one of the things that we really wanted to get across before you got into Space Fighter. Very important. How do you handle detecting where a ball hits a block, like in Battle Blocks, so that you know how to ricochet the ball, etc., so that it looks properly. Laser bikes. How in the heck do you do as your little motorbike thing is driving along, how do you leave the walls behind as you're cruising around like such? So a few important concepts. And Memory Master, that's a good one. With Memory Master, how do you generate sequences that grow, random sequences that grow? And how do you, handle a bunch of spheres that are bouncing around the screen and off one another and make it look right? So still a bunch of very important concepts that need to be covered, but then you take these concepts and you merge them with everything that we've taught in this class, and presto, you've got everything you need to pull off the particular assignment. So starting out with Memory Master. What exactly is Memory Master? Well, it's kind of like the old Simon Says game. Remember the old Simon Says? It has like red, green, yellow, and blue colors. It's in a circle. The whole thing is a circular pattern. Well, I can just draw it out. I forgot I had a whiteboard right here. So it kind of looks like this. And does this look familiar to you, Logan?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, they used to have ads for this thing on Saturday mornings when you were watching cartoons.
Oh, you never had one?
No, well, it wasn't my kind of thing. My thing was go careening down a hill on a bike or something.
Good point. So basically you had these different colors, and you would get a sequence that would play. Like let's say that this was red, blue, green, and yellow. So you might get a sequence something like red, red, green. Now you, the player, has to press these buttons, real big plastic buttons, to repeat the sequence. So now it was your job to go red, red, green, and then ta-da, you got, level 1. Now level 2 would add to that. So now you would have something like red, red, green, blue. So you would now need to type in red, red, green, blue. Then you'd move on to the next one. And this sequence would continue to grow and grow until you finally reached a point where it was like, it's too much, and you couldn't remember exactly what it was that you needed to type in because you got lost, because maybe you had 30 different things that you need to hit, and then that was the end of the game. So that is what we're doing with Memory Master. But Memory Master is going to be a little bit more complicated. This is really trippy when you're playing it. The goal is going to be like this. So you're going to have a screen. And right now what we're going to do is we're just going to discuss the in-game stuff. So start taking notes, as you guys are good little students, and this is now, at this point, being done like a college classroom. So I'm standing up here at the whiteboard and explaining this is what I'm wanting the game to be like. You're going to have colored spheres that have the ability to light up. So I'm going to throw 4 of them in here. And these spheres are going to start out with random velocities, and they're going to be moving in different directions. And they will bounce off walls, and they will bounce off one another. And that needs to look fairly natural. It needs to look like real rigid bodies that are moving through space, colliding and bouncing off one another. Now, here's the interesting thing. The sequence needs to appear on these guys. So even though these are going to be colored, so you'll have like a red, a green. What colors do we have? Blue.
We've got red, green, blue, and yellow.
Yeah. So as these guys are moving around, basically they're going to brighten up. Now you guys already know how to do this. We did this in precision. So do a grayscale and then multiply it by a particular color. So multiply it by a dull red or multiply it by a bright red, and you can give the feeling that it just lit up. Okay, so these guys are bouncing around the screen. Now you're going to have your sequence. You may start out with a very simple sequence like 3 is what we're going to show when we do the sequence generator. We'll start out with, so you might have something like green, yellow, blue. So the green would flash and make a tone, because we are going to get into sounds now. So green would make a tone, then yellow would make a tone and flash, and finally blue would. Now these guys only need to flash for just a second. So what did we use, Logan? Like 0.2, I think?
I believe they would only do it for 0.2 seconds.
Exactly. So it's just like, dan, 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 and that's it. So now at this point, you're waiting on user input. So how's the user going to provide this input? Well, you need to use an Xbox 360 controller. And on the Xbox 360 controller, you've got your buttons over on the right-hand side, the X, the Y, the B, and the A, and they're color-coded. How convenient to match the color codes here. So just set those up so that you use those. And then the player would simply, press the buttons. And when you press the buttons, of course, now you're going to light the sequence back up and play the tones. And if you get it right, do something to indicate good job, and then do the same sequence, but now add one to it. It's that simple. Now, in these spheres, let's take a closer look at one of these spheres. The spheres, which we're going to throw a very cheesy graphic up for you guys to grab. I am hoping to see some people pull out Photoshop or some sort of paint application and put together something that looks a little bit nicer, because we've had quite a few Photoshop lectures throughout the XNA class, and surely everyone has learned enough that they could make some type of circular glowing orb, okay? So, or at least transparent looking orb that can light up. So inside these orbs, we're wanting to see a number 1 or a Roman numeral 2, okay? If you're playing this, it starts out real simple, only want to see a Roman numeral 1. Why? What does that indicate? That indicates that on your 360 controller, this is all that's required. So if you had, red with a 1 on it, all you got to do is hit the red button on the controller, end of story. If, on the other hand, it glows red and it has a 2 in it, now it's a little different. Now you need to hold down your left bumper and hit red. So now you've really got 8 different things that you need to worry about.
Right, so it's like you have a shift button now. If you see the number 2 sphere light up a certain color, you have to hit the appropriate color, but you have to make sure you hit it with the shift. So it's almost like the upper set of 4 and the lower set of 4.
That's right.
And the left bumper will let you switch up to the upper set.
So left bumper plus color button. And that will get you that. So obviously this means we have up to 8 different possibilities that could end up being displayed with our 4 bouncing spheres here. And you can see where that could really start to kind of mess with your head, because you saw red, but now did it have the bumper or did it not have the bumper? So very important. Let's see, anything else that we want to throw here? Yeah, keep track. Keep track of what is going on. Now, if you want to get super fancy and save the information, we have put up some bonus videos that came from our good friend Owens D, who basically showed how to work with XML data. If you'd like to use those videos to help push you in a direction so that you can save the information from these games out so that you can then retrieve later, that's fantastic. Or if you just want to store the information in the current game that's running, and when the game is no longer running, then of course the information is not being stored to a hard drive or anything. But I'm leaving that up to you guys to decide, because that could become a little bit more advanced. And again, this is an introduction class. But keep track. Okay, I played game number 1, and this is how well I did. Played game number 2, this is how well I did. Basically, how far in the sequence did you get? Keep track of that information, and then find some way to display it back to the person who's playing the game. So I want to see how well I've done over the last 10 games. I can see that my memory went from bad to better, or I got worse as time progressed because I got more tired. Who knows? But that is what I am looking for you guys to put together. Now, take this very simple concept here and package this together into a game for me. Okay? Is there anything else, Logan, that I'm missing with this right here? Just the basic instructions of the game.
Right. I think that's got the movement covered, the collisions covered, the idea for the sequence, the 4 directions representing 4 buttons on the controllers, left bumper to access the numeral 2 buttons. Did you want to have it set up so that there was 2 distinct modes of play, where you could put it into an easy mode where you only have the number 1s, or
that sounds good. So, we'll make it more of an option for people. I think it's a really good idea. But now, at this point, everybody should be able to do menus without any problems. Everybody has an understanding of game states. And if you are rusty on them, we're going to be talking about them in a few minutes in the example we're going to give in regards to the sequence generator. But, yeah, they can use game states. They can make a very simple menu system, or they can make a more complex, reusable menu system if they want. And then have an easy mode or an advanced mode, and the advanced mode could then sprinkle the 1 and 2s in there, and the easy mode could it's always number 1s.
Right, so you only have 4 buttons to worry about.
That's right. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. And there's all sorts of ways, guys, that you can have more fun with this. You can have a beginner, an intermediate, where the intermediate incorporates 1 and 2, and then advanced. And in an advanced mode, what you could do is you could make each time a new color is added into the sequence is played back, but it's played back slightly faster. Okay, so it gets faster and faster and faster. So now it gets more and more difficult to actually complete it, because you've really got to be paying attention to the colors as they're getting quicker and quicker at being shown back to you on screen. And you'll be able to pick up from that when we do that particular video. Now, what am I talking about when we do that video? Well, we're not coding out every single part of the game. This is now your assignment. It's a classroom. But we are going to take things a step further. We're not just going to drop you off into the deep end of the pool without any prior experience of swimming, even though in this particular case you have lots of swimming experience in the XNA class. We have got 3 different videos that we're going to look at. The first one, coming up dealing with Memory Master, is going to be the collision stuff. So how do we have these guys bouncing around the screen and off of one another, and how do we make that look pretty good without getting into any kind of serious physics? We don't want any sort of complex algorithms being used in this sample, because there's no need for it. How do we make some sort of collision that it looks nice, it feels right, unless you really scrutinize it? So that's the goal here. Okay, so we're going to have a video that's going to walk you through putting together a very simple demonstration. Now, these videos are known as proof of concept videos. That's very important to understand, meaning that we're not going to write it and then revise it and then revise it until we're super happy with the layout of it. There's been a lot of you inside the XNA class that have asked, how do you guys put these games together? I've seen several comments from some of you students that have said, I really wish I could have seen, how many iterations that you guys went through in putting this game together, or surely you just didn't sit down and precision was, boom, there it is. There's obviously thought that goes into it. Then when it's done, you look at it and you say, okay, can I enhance it? Can I make it more expandable? And then you rewrite it. And that happens several times with precision, don't you say, Logan?
Just about all of the projects have gone through at least a few rewrites and
Right.
a lot of major tweaking where we'll get a working prototype, but then look at that prototype and decide it's like, is this the most efficient way? Does doing something this way make sense?
Exactly.
Does the way we do this make sense in the way we explain it?
So what that means is these videos that are coming up are first drafts. These are the prototypes. They are proof of concepts on very specific focused topics.
That's because the goal of these programs is somewhat different. The goal of these upcoming videos is to cover the technical aspects of what's new for this game.
That's right.
In the case of the movement, the thing that's new is the inter-object collision, the fact that you can have the spheres on screen bounce off of each other. That is technically new. We haven't had to worry about things colliding off of each other. We've done detection where we had precision and things could collide and die and respawn, but there was no other effect.
Right.
Here we need to have actual object-to-object collision, so we're going to cover just the technical part. And that's going to be the whole point of the video. Not how nicely the engine's set up, not how expandable it is, but just how do you go about the technical aspect, the mathematical aspect of making the collision work and making the bounce work.
Now, of course, we could simply just provide you with the 6 lines of code that we're going to use, but we're going to write a full-fledged XNA application to demonstrate this. So those of you that still feel, a little bit rusty, you're welcome to follow along with the entire thing, and we'll drop little clues and hints here and there. When we do the sequence generator, we're not going to be using an Xbox 360 controller. We've already had some very good video lessons on how to go about using the controller and detecting if you've had a button press versus, a button that's being held, etc. And we're going to talk about that, but we're going to use the keyboard here because we don't want to give too much away. We really want you guys to have to start thinking and applying a lot of the lecture you have been given so far. So keep that in mind. So lots of magic numbers, variable names that probably aren't going to be the greatest names in the world. The idea is just, as Logan said, to get to the core concepts that we're trying to demonstrate and focus on those. Okay? And when I say that, what I'm talking about is bouncing. The one after that is going to be the sequence generation. How do you go about doing something like red, green, red? And then how do you take in the player's input and compare it? And if they got it right, then how do you move over to red, green, red, blue? So now you expand the sequence by 1, and then you continue to expand the sequence by 1 each time a player gets the input correct. So we're going to walk you through doing that. But we're going to do these as 2 separate applications that have nothing to do with one another, so that you guys need to think about how can you mix this stuff together with everything else we've shown you and create Memory Master. Now, when is it due? Well, it's not due. As we said at the very beginning of the XNA class, this isn't a class where you actually have assignments that you turn in to be graded. Instead, the idea is that you get a lot of lecture teaching you how to do this kind of stuff. If you get stuck, use the classroom. We will be monitoring the classroom, and we've got some fantastic guys in there, such as Owens D, that also monitors the class. And if you guys post questions, you will get answers. So please use the classroom. And when you get your game done, post it in the classroom. Logan and I do look at these games when you guys post them up. We've seen some good stuff over the past 6-7 months. Please continue to post your stuff there. So as you get Memory Master games put together, put them in the classroom so that we can try it out. Very excited to see what you guys can come up with. And that's pretty much it. So that's Memory Master. That's how it works. And just take the little bit of information that I've given you, and now what I need you to do is come up with a requirement sheet, and this is for your own good. Come up with a true implementation plan on how you want to approach it. Of course, it's after watching the next few videos that we're about to record for you guys. It's going to show putting some of these concept things together, these key concepts. So, Logan, is there anything else that needs to be added in?
I think that's pretty much got all the bases covered. The idea of the game, some hints at how we're going to do bouncing and sequence generation, and
sound.
And sound. And so just a general pointers in how to go about assembling this knowledge into a working game.
Okay. Well, with that is going to wrap up this video. It's time for us to go ahead and get started on the little bouncing sphere, guys. Thanks a lot.